Hi there, Doc from Barcast Audio here today to talk with you about the differences between the California bar exam and the uniform bar exam. Let's jump right into it. So to begin, I always get this question. Law students who are preparing for the bar exam, who are looking ahead, what is the difference between the California bar exam and the uniform bar exam? Let's just briefly break it down. First of all, the uniform bar exam is the more widely taken bar exam. It is a transferable score. New York State, Texas, more states obviously use the uniform bar exam. I believe 45 or 46 at this point outside of California, Louisiana, Delaware, and Florida. For the most part, the uniform bar exam is the bar exam that most law students around the country are going to be taking. And it allows a little bit of transferability. Like if you take the uniform bar exam in New York, you can transfer that score provided that you get a certain score threshold to New Jersey, to Connecticut, and you'll be barred in those states as well. Now, every state has their own individual scoring thresholds. So I believe in New York State, the scoring passage threshold is 266, whereas some other states may be 260, some other states may be 258. I know Alaska, I believe, is 272. So the scoring is going to be different per state. Now, California, by contrast, is obviously only a California bar exam. If you pass the California bar, you can only practice in California. No other states accept that passage. You'll have to take the UBE or the bar exam in that jurisdiction wherever else you're trying to practice. But obviously, passing the California bar exam gives you access to one of the bigger legal markets in the entire country. Let's move on now to difficulty. It bears saying here that the California bar exam is more difficult on average than the uniform bar exam, or at least that's a perception. A number of factors kind of go into how that breaks down. So just looking at this past year, the uniform bar exam in 2022 had about a 60% passage rate across more than 60,000 students who took the test. By contrast, the July 2022 California bar exam had a 52% passage rate. So we're looking at about 60% versus 52%. Those numbers tend to move a little bit either way, but not too much. California generally is in that 45 to 52% passage rate, and the UBE is always in that 60-ish percentage passage rate. So looking at those numbers, obviously more students are failing the California bar exam than failing the uniform bar exam, or higher percentage. So on top of difficulty, on top of differences in terms of where you can practice, let's dive into the actual formats and how they differ. First of all, we'll talk about the first day of the exam. And that's really the only difference here. The bar exam in California, the California bar, and the uniform bar exam are going to have an identical second day. They're both going to use the second day of the exam on the multi-state bar exam, the 2 3-hour sessions of 100 multiple choice questions each, covering all the MBE subjects, the 7 MBE subjects that we've discussed on this channel. We've discussed all over. You can find those online. I won't dive into them for the purposes of this video. But where the two tests differ is going to be that first day. The first day of that exam for California is going to be comprised of first one performance test, a 90-minute performance test, not dissimilar to the multi-state performance test administered as part of the uniform bar exam. And the second part of that day is going to be 5 one-hour-long essays. By contrast, the uniform bar exam is going to start off with 2 90-minute performance tests and then a break, and then the MEE, the multi-state essay examination, which is going to be 6 half-hour essays. Those are going to obviously be shorter than these California 1-hour-long essays. On top of the obvious difference in format, California is going about a half hour longer than the pure session, the pure essay section of the uniform bar exam. On top of that, the way that these exams are scored, the essay sections are scored, is going to be different. Not only are the formats going to be different, not only is the timing going to be different, but on top of all of that, how these exams are going to be scored, what sections are worth what points, is going to be a little bit different here. And the reason for that is very simple. On the uniform bar exam, the MPTs, the 2 90-minute essays, are going to be worth 20% of your grade. The MEEs, the 6 half-hour essays, are going to be worth about 30% of your grade. So that boils down to 50% on the essays, obviously, and the MEEs, the essays where you actually have to memorize the law, are going to be worth about 60% of your overall writing points on the exam. By contrast, the California bar exam is going to double count your MPT essay, your California PT essay. It's not going to be the same exam MPT that the uniform bar exam students are receiving. California writes their own. They used to give 2 of these as part of the bar exam, but in condensing their exam from 3 days to 2, they now have 1 performance test that they count twice. It's going to be closed universe, like I mentioned before, and it's only going to count for 10% of your grade on the California California bar exam. So California is like the UBE in that the essays count for 50% of your grade. That means that those 5 one-hour essays are going to count for 40% of your overall essay grade. So obviously, they carry a lot more weight than either of the essay sections on the uniform bar exam. Those essays, those 5 one-hour-long essays, are going to cover 80% of your written scoring on the California bar exam. So each essay carries just a lot more weight on the California bar than the 6 half-hour MEE essays. So let's run through the list of what California is going to test you on. First of all, business associations. Second, civil procedure. Third, community property. Fourth, constitutional law. Fifth, contracts. Then we have criminal law and criminal procedure. Next, evidence. Then professional responsibility, real property, remedies, torts, trusts, and wills and succession. By contrast, on the uniform bar exam, the essay section, the MEEs, you're going to be covering a different number of subjects. On the MEE, you will be tested on civil procedure, business associations, conflict of laws, constitutional law, contracts, criminal law, evidence, family law, real property, torts, trusts and estates, and secured transactions. So obviously, in running through this list, you probably noticed there are some different subjects that are covered by California. Things like remedies, things like professional responsibility seems to be a recurring essay subject that comes up almost every year. It's sort of an iconic part of that California bar exam. And stuff like community property, remedies, that's just stuff that's not going to be covered on the UBE. So that wraps up our video on the differences between the California bar exam and the uniform bar exam. Be sure to follow this channel, subscribe for more of these videos. Be sure to check us out at barcastaudio.com for all the materials you need to pass the uniform bar exam, the MBE. If you're in California, we have all sorts of essay attack sheets, audio outlines, audio flashcards, everything you need to pass that bar exam.